Would you say that music has given you a support system over the years?
Um, Emotionally, definitely. Financially, not at all.
Outlet, let's go. Need a window, all that lingo, social media.
Hello. I
Hi.
am Sukanya. I'm from Humming Heart. AHH is a music publication where we review independent music and we feature
Mm.
exciting new artists and their releases. We also run an artist fund. 25% of our revenue goes to an independent artist that we select every month. And last month we picked Loyal, Lojal,
Loyal, yes.
Loyal, who's joining us today for this conversation. That was going to be my first question. What do you prefer? People call you? Do I call you Loyal or Martin?
I
What's
prefer
your
loyal, because that's the identity that I have kind of encompassed right now. And
right?
yeah, to my friends also, I'm loyal now. But then Martin's all right too. Like that's also not my real name either. So it was my previous artist name. So
Yeah,
like either works for me.
yeah. Okay, cool. Loyal, hi. Thank you so much for joining me today. Very excited to speak to you and get to know you through this chat. Uh, I think you already know with the numerous features that we've done on your music and your cover art. I think you already know that we're huge
Yes.
fans of your work,
And I really appreciate
and
that. Yeah.
and we're very happy to be able to have contributed a little amount to helping you make more of that
Right.
music.
Right.
So
Thank
I
you.
remember when we were talking to you about the fund, you mentioned that you had to travel a lot in the coming days. So where are you joining
Mhm.
us from today?
I am currently in Hyderabad at a friend's place. We're making music, and I'm in the
Okay,
studio right now. And
okay.
before this, I was in Delhi, and then before that, I was home. And yeah, it's not a lot of travel, just like a 4 or 5 cities on the way back to Goa, and
Mm,
just trying to pick up as much as I can on the way in terms of music
right,
and experience.
right. So is Goa the permanent home?
Not really. I By the end of this month, I will have no home. I mean,
Mm,
I'm leaving my rental and just
right,
maybe like from a friend's place to the other, like just focusing on the album and like trying to save cash from the rental situation and put
right,
it into the music. Yeah,
right.
that's what I'm doing for the next couple. So, but I will be based out of Goa for the next few months, but then still will be traveling about. Will be about.
So the fact that you move around or that you prefer to move around and go with the flow, do you think that helps you in the creative process? Or
Um,
yeah,
Well, first of all, I do not prefer to move around. I like being cozy at one place. But then
okay,
I also like placing myself in uncomfortable situations because I
right,
found myself grow a lot in those kind of elements. And which is why, like, whenever I feel too comfortable at home, I'm like, oh no, I should start doing something else, you know. And that's
hmm,
always been my driving thing for for my career, for my music, coming from where
okay.
I came from. And so yeah, I think it's just we're just gonna have to look and wait and see what comes off of it.
You've been doing this for a while, but you started putting out music just over the last couple of years, right, on streaming platforms and just with these official
Yeah,
releases.
yeah. I've
Yeah,
always been a I've always been a guy in that's more of into like the live performances, the
right.
underground kind of vibes, like just being a collaborative person, the guy that links people up. I've liked that about me like before, and just like working on the scenes. I used to do a lot of A&R, P&R,
Hmm.
uh, did a lot of events back in Shillong, stuff like that. But
Right. So you mentioned that you're a very shy person. You've been a very shy person, but A&R stuff, going out there, performing, and looking for collaborators, all of that requires you to put yourself out there.
yeah,
So how did you go about that?
Well, it's just have a cup of coffee with your anxiety and stress, and like just go out there in the world. I mean, like honestly, seriously, I mean, like just that, just something to get my mind off things sometimes, and
Right.
just like constant social anxiety and pressure doing that. But at the same time, like sometimes those turn around and kind of like like become something that really helps you out later on, and it's like you
Hmm.
realize it's totally worth it. And for me, for like being a guy from where I'm from, the kind of background, um, and the kind of story I've had, like I wouldn't be where I was if I did not go out of my way, like looking for work, looking for gigs, looking for people to collaborate with. I have been shot down way too many times in my life, but so I'm like used to it. So I still do it, like like, and I think that's the fun of it, to see who's willing to like take that shot, because
Right.
I know I have. And so I think that's also what I look for people that I'm working with, and the people who I involved with, I should say.
When you agreed to do this interview, I actually went and checked out your Instagram, and I
Mhm.
saw that all the older posts about your album and your previous releases were gone.
Right.
So just, and I mean, a lot of artists do that, where they just remove the older stuff when they're trying to
Hmm.
push out new stuff, or they're just
Right.
maybe they're just in a different state of mind.
Right.
So just wonder, what does that mean to you? Why do that?
Honestly, it's just like kind of like stupid ADHD most of the times. But I mean, at the creative side of it, if you had to think of it that way, I guess it's just cleaning up my feed. And also the thing is, like the album's still there. Like they're like I've instead posted like acoustic versions of the album instead of
Yeah,
the album posts.
yeah,
Just want people to like grasp this side of me
hmm,
before I come up with like the new album, which is gonna be like an entirely new trajectory in terms of visuals, in terms of sound. So
hmm.
it's just that kind of I don't know what you call it. You call it marketing strategy or something like that. I don't know, but it's somewhere
That's what
along
they're
those
calling it
lines.
these days.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But is there a sense of detachment from that older self, the self that made that album, those
Right.
songs?
That's a good question. For me, it's I've noticed in my life every time I uh, have a major improvement or realization, what I do is I tend to kill my old self and create a new one. So it's been like
Right.
Martin 1, Martin 2.0, then there was a lot of different band names, and then there was Loyal, and then now for the next album, the character that I am becoming is a character named Martian D. Beginning. And
Yeah.
but it's still Loyal, but that's a character that Loyal's playing there. Um, and in that way, I think I like using all of this various innuendos in visual and like just the mental elements to push it all forward like that. And it kind of reflects heavily on my personality and I guess even
Right.
how I treat my social media, because
Right.
I don't know, like I don't know where it came from, honestly. At the end of the day, just like there are times when I just go deleting stuff or like delete people and just go private, and it's just impulsive decisions. But yeah, like right now it's just like trying to let people know what's there, what's really there, and
What's
before
happening
what
right
could
now?
be. Yeah, what's happening right now before
Yeah.
what's coming next.
Right. So since we're talking about that, and since you mentioned Martian, the begin end, just want to understand, can you explain your bio, which is just want to understand why are you a space agency and why are you called Loyal Estates?
Well, factually, my answer to that would be the album.
Okay. Oh,
Right.
interesting.
So that's an answer that's going to have to buffer for a bit, but it is about the next album, and it is about what encompasses the next album.
Okay.
So it's quite big.
Ah, that's very exciting. Currently, you are loyal, and I was watching another interview of yours where you talked about how that's a play on the word loyalty.
Yeah.
Uh, so, can you tell me what loyalty means to you, specifically as a musician who enjoys collaborating with multiple artists?
Right.
And by with those collaborations, I know that you collaborate with musicians as well as a lot of visual artists. So, if you can just talk about that.
Yeah, I think for me, loyalty, I think it's always been a state of being, a state of feeling, more than a verb, and
Right.
like how you feel inside. Because like there's a lot of things happening inside that the outside does not encompass enough to be understood by people. And that's the kind of like virtuality that I want to give with the name, where people like kind of look inwards more
Hmm.
than outwards, in terms of just judging people or things or music or stuff like that. So that's the first thing that I wanted Loyal to encompass. The second thing is just like for me, like with music, I kind of was always on and off because starting off, family wasn't very supportive, and there was a lot of dramas and emotional issues and depression, a lot of depression. So I always kind of gave up on music, like, but then there would come a point of time where I would kind of end up at a show or meet someone or hear someone sing or perform. And I'm like, oh wow, I want to do this again. And I got back to it. And it was kind of like a love and hate relationship. And I cheated on music a lot. But at the end of it, at the end of it, I got to this stage where I was like very suicidal. Um, but the one thing that pulled me back from that again was music. And at that point, I was like, just I by now I should see the signs. And
Right.
that was when I dropped out of college and went for my tour. I did my first tour, I think, and yeah. So that just like a feeling for me with music, like the being loyal, and of course, like people can and maybe should, if they want to perceive it as loyalty towards friends, family, people. And at the same time, for me, in terms of that collaborative atmosphere, I mean, I didn't think of it when I thought of the word loyal, but I think it does like somewhat mean something in there also because the people I've worked with are people that I've at one point then, if not still now, trusted a lot and was like, hey, I can trust you with my music, with my feelings, with my incapabilities.
Yeah.
And that was sort of what I looked for in people I worked with.
Would you say that music has given you a support system over the years?
Emotionally, definitely. Financially, not at all. but I have had some nice paydays. I have
Yeah.
had like some lucky fat checks, and those were nice. Like a little bit of
Yeah.
fun, buy this and that. And actually, to be honest, like up to the point before the pandemic, I think I did pretty well for myself because before Loyal, I was also something else. I did a lot of things. I moved to Bangalore, and
Yeah.
with Loyal, there was already a lot of things happening. I was doing a couple of jingles every now and then. There were shows, there were private shows, and then I was also teaching. So money was coming in, like from music
Hmm.
alone, and it
Hmm.
was enough for me to pay my own rent, live alone, um, all of that, travel every now and then. But it was definitely not enough to make more music by the sense I'm not talking about like bedroom music, more music like professionally, like
Yeah.
out there,
Of course. Yeah.
yeah. And I had my gear, which did help me a lot with the album making, with music making, anything really. But then
Yeah.
pandemic came and I had to survive that. So I sold everything off, and after that it's kind of been like a rebuilding of the building of the estate, the Loyal
So
estates.
you had to sell off your equipment.
Yeah, like literally everything I had, like my laptop, my keys, my microphones, guitar, everything. And right now I own nothing. But on the brighter side, I have like learned a lot of things and kind of worked on the other spectrum, like the mental and emotional spectrum. And I think I'm in a okay space. It's not great, but I'm in an okay space there, which I wasn't in when I worked on the first album. So I'm very excited to see where the next album will go to, like provided how I am feeling right now. So yeah, but then again, like to compensate for all of that, the collaborative environment, the friends, the musicians are there, and
Right.
I'm sitting in a studio room right now. There's a lot of equipment, and yeah, compensation,
That,
friends.
that, that's good. That's good. uh, so when you work on an album, do you set out with a vision that this is how I want the album to sound, or like you just said that you want to see where it ends up? So what's the process like?
So for me, writing music, usually what by the time I'm writing the first line of the music, or even before, I usually see kind of like hear or see what I want it to be like. I even see like a music video already. And 99.9% of the times, none of it comes true because I always think too big. And there's never enough budget or like creatives to make that happen. But that being said, I think having like a goal like that in mind, but also accepting the fact that you might not make it and being able to be satisfied with what you have at the end, having done your
Mm,
best, is
mm,
kind of how I deal with my albums. With Face, I wanted to kind of like really exponentiate my feelings and out there to the world because I've always been a quiet guy, introverted in the room.
mm,
So I wanted an album where all of that was just like out there, like anxiety, rage, depression,
mm,
all of that.
mm,
Um, and that with that vision in mind, I went into the album, but the album became a little more than that. It became
mm,
almost like a song that when I listened to it back then, it made me rageful, but when I listen to it
mm,
now, it makes me peaceful. So it's grown like that emotionally, even the song, right? So
mm.
I never really know where it's gonna end up, but I have a intention to it most of the times, and we get into it and we try our best to get that intention out on real life. Like for this next album, it's the kind of album where like I might probably need like lakhs and lakhs to make happen, like virtually everything that I want to do. But
Right.
again, like the state of being, the state of everything, like that might and definitely might not be possible. So like also have to make do with the fact that we're gonna have to scale down, but or like wait it out a little bit. But then at the same time, that intention is there, and just trying to follow through with that intention, that vision.
Last question: is there anything no anything concrete that you can tell us about the next album, the timeline, the themes, the subject?
I can read out maybe like a vague concept to the album, but it's a pretty solid vague concept to the album. As in,
Okay,
it's not detailed yet, but
right.
hang on, let me just pull it up on my phone. Give me a second. I just have too many lyrics on my phone right now. It takes really long to find anything. Okay, here we go. So, concept: a detective's interpersonal, self referential investigation into the infinitude of his own multidimensional consciousness. So,
Hmm.
that's like a short.
That's giving a lot away, but at the same time giving nothing away.
I mean,
That's
if you
exciting.
see past all the fancy words, this a guy named Luke, who's part of like the visual team for the album, helped me pen this. It's a great
Hmm.
artist, by the way. But yeah, like so, we have this, and of course, there's like a whole lot more to it. There will be like a lot of cosmic elements happening, like spatial elements, and then
Right.
we are also planning on a lot of things before the album itself, like single releases, videos, merchandise, a lot of like really cool, fun merchandises that we've been designing on paper. And I think I can put this out. There's also a graphic novel coming out.
Ooh.
Yes, and which will kind of be like an interface to the album. because the album is going to
Okay.
be like that I feel like people might need like an interface to it. And I'm also holding a fundraiser for that soon, as soon as I find a fundraising website that actually works.
Right.
But yeah, so we have that, which will be going out way before the album to select amount of people, and
Hmm.
late after physical copies, and then post that select amount. It's just going to be digital versions because cutting down
Okay.
on carbon footprint. But
Right.
that's basically what's going to happen, and a lot more things that I think we shouldn't tell people yet now. But we'll get there. We'll get there. Like
Soon
you guys
enough.
have my line all the time, so yeah.
Soon enough. That's really looking forward to that. Very
Thank
exciting.
you. All right, you lovely people. So it's your boy Loyal, as you already know. I don't know why I did those hand movements. But anyways, over here we have Sukanya, who's part of the AHH team. That's a humming heart, if you already didn't know. And they've been doing really great work for musicians and artists in the country, and also, like just helping us out with the promotions and helping us out with writing really good reviews, selecting music, making playlists, the sorts. You've heard of them, you've seen them work. So here's what's happening is every year they do this artist fund for musicians that's been under their radar. And 25% of whatever you've contributed to the website, to the magazine, to the publication goes to that particular artist, which this time happily happens to be me. And that kind of act really helps us go an extra mile or two or three or 10 when it comes to making music, paying our bills, and getting just our life and emotional being sorted to a certain level. So we thank you, the previous anyone who's ever donated that. I'm sure the team also does. But if you want to keep continuing supporting this, then please feel free to go to their website, which I think is a hummingheart.com.
That's correct.
Yes. Right. So get on there and check out a whole lot of reviews, playlists, stories, and you'll find a lot of new music there too, including the link where you can subscribe to the publication and also donate some worthy money for some worthy artists. Right. So, yeah, do that.
Run, I'm all out of fun. I just got serious. No, I'm not done. My, I got